Hello, everyone. Marty Borosko, Chair of the Staffing Industry Practice Group at Becker. And I'm here for our continuing series, which is 5 questions with a staffing industry leader. And I'm lucky enough this morning to have Tom Kosnik from the Visus Group with me. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Martin. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, really a pleasure to have you. I don't know if you know the kind of the genesis of this series we've been doing, but it's really about the fact that because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to connect with our peers, and I haven't been able to see folks like you at SIA conferences, ASA conferences, and the like. When those conferences were going on, you and I would sit down, we'd have a cup of coffee, we'd have a cocktail, and we'd talk shop. So when that stopped, I was like, well, how do I get to still interact with my peers? And then it dawned on me, well, sometimes during those conversations, some real nuggets came out for
Oh
people.
yeah. Sorely missed those conversations.
So the idea was let's have those conversations. Unfortunately, not in person, but let's record them and let's let some of our clients and folks in the industry benefit from them. So I'm excited to have you. For those folks who don't know Tom, and I'm sure most of you do, Tom Kosnik is with the Visus Group. Visus Group provides consulting services to the industry. Very famous for their peer-to-peer roundtables. I mean, the Visus Group has been holding these peer-to-peer roundtables for it seems like forever now. And Tom, talk a little bit about those roundtables because they're really an amazing opportunity for folks in the industry.
I am so honored. First off, I mean, the staffing industry has been very good to my family, to me and my family and my business. We have such wonderful clients. I talk to other associates that consult in other sectors, other industry sectors, and I hear all kinds of stories. But the staffing industry, just we have wonderful clients, and the peer roundtable, the core competence, our core competency in the president's roundtable, CFO roundtable, marketing roundtable. It's really building a community of people that care about one another, care about each other's businesses, and helping each other grow their businesses and succeed, better manage their people and whatnot. And we meet in person 3 times a year. We do Zoom calls. We bring in subject matter experts. We have an email distribution list. We look at business plans and goals. We hold each other accountable to those goals. We use a creative problem solving process in terms of helping somebody tear an issue they've been struggling with down and construct a creative response that they can get better results with. And so it's fun. I'm very proud of what we've been able to build. And Martin, honored to say we have a number of clients that have been with us in the Roundtable program for north of 20 years. It's been a great thing.
Well, I believe we have some clients, and the quote that I've heard is that it's kind of like having a board of directors, these peer groups. But I know Vice is obviously very well known for those peer-to-peer roundtables, but other consulting services. I know something we often talk about because here at Becker, my focus is kind of on the strategic legal needs that folks in the industry have. So I know one thing that you and I always kind of talk about is growth and strategic issues. And Visus does a great job, I know, helping folks with their organizational structure. They're putting together the right people, putting them in the right places, getting the right plan. Talk a little bit about the work that you do on the growth side for staffing industry clients.
Sure. Yeah. We do a lot of work with putting business plans together, financial analysis, financial models, different executing on different strategies, whether that's an organic growth strategy or an acquisition strategy, and just helping people that like own these entities, bring in the level of personnel, and look the change management piece of it, which is a lot of times somebody's running a $50 million a year business. They want to get to $100 million in revenue, but they've never worked in $100 million a year business. So just helping them get connected with people in organizations that are of that size that that know what it looks like, feels like, tastes like, and get them fully understanding what that means, and hey, what are the key initiatives? Keeping them focused on the key initiatives to grow their business to the levels that they're looking to.
That's great, Tom. Well, hopefully that gives our audience a flavor of what you and the Visus Group is all about. So I want to really jump into the 5 questions. There's so many directions I could take this with somebody with you. So I hope I go in the right direction. But something that I think you and I talk about often, and I think I'll make this the theme, is the fact that staffing firms sometimes hit plateaus, right? They grow for a little bit, and then suddenly that growth kind of stops, and they hit a plateau. And I know you've talked to me about it, but maybe describe, what the plateau is, and I think some people are under impression that only staffing firms of certain sizes hit plateaus, and staffing firms of other sizes don't. So maybe you could talk about that as the first question.
Sure. Yeah, sure. We first hitting plateaus. It affects all businesses, and we have clients. We typically get called in when a staffing company has hit a certain plateau and has stopped growing. But gosh, Martin, we've got clients that are under 10 million in revenue. They've been stuck at a certain size for several years. We've got clients that are at $1 billion in revenue and have been stuck at $1 billion in revenue for several years, all the way up and down the food chain. So it's not getting stuck in certain plateaus. It's not exclusive to certain size businesses, and there are different levels of it, obviously. The whole dynamic of getting past a plateau, it's really funny. I've got so many people that say, Tom, you got to write a book, because it's like everybody makes the same mistakes. If they're the small guy, they're like, oh, well, all I need to do is hire a rainmaker and pay him a lot of money, and that's going to take me, north of 10 million in revenue. And if it's a middle market, it's geez, I got to go talk to Martin and figure out an acquisition strategy and buy into these different markets and whatnot. But they all make the same mistake, and one of the key mistakes that they make is that they don't look into themselves, and this is the crux of hitting the plateau. And there's an article that was written back in 1965. I've given multiple presentations to senior management teams about it and whatnot. The power to see ourselves. It's a HBR, a Harvard Business Review article. Well, what you would have thought, this guy published this article yesterday. So many great lessons. And I lucked into a consultant here in the Chicagoland area that worked with like big companies, PhD, published, and all that. And I had some problems like working with my clients to try to get them to see things differently in their business. And this guy's name was Victor. And Victor says, Tom, you got to read this article. And then after you read the article, come back and let's meet. And basically, okay, companies will hit a plateau. But it's not, the company does not hit the plateau. It's the leadership hits a plateau. And what a lot of the work that we do at the Visus Group, and a lot of the work, frankly, that happens in the Roundtable program, is that we see the world, somebody stuck at whatever level, 250 million, 7 million, they see the world a certain way. Now, I've got to, if we're successful, we've got to affect behavior. We've got to get a behavior change at the top in order for an organization to start growing, get off the plateau or move beyond the plateau. And so and we all have heard it's a paradigm shift and whatnot. But what happens with a lot of business owners is that they have assumptions. They have assumptions about politics, the economy, temporaries, internal employees, sales systems, and what we need to do. And oh, by the way, those assumptions, they direct our behavior. And so a lot of the work that outside consultants and advisors and whatnot do is that they work with leadership to get those assumptions on the table and challenge those assumptions. And so if we can do that, if we can challenge those assumptions, which pulls people out of their comfort zone. I always say, I always say, well, we get hired a lot, fired a lot, and rehired a lot. Because you can only push so hard. But if we can get it, and it's so fascinating, Martin, to watch a business owner go through this transformation. So if we can get them to think about the assumptions that they have about all these things that are affecting their business, and challenge them and change that assumption, then then the behavior change will happen. And if we can change the assumptions, then they can see the world differently. That's how these businesses get past the plateau, is that the senior leadership has got to see the world differently. And there's the power to see ourselves, like, oh my gosh, it's such a great article. And anyway,
maybe we can drill down, because I love what you're saying about assumptions and changing behavior.
hey, how many times have we met guys that have successfully grown a business to the top of the owner operator structure, 10 million, 12 million in revenue, and they did it with grit, right? By them going out selling accounts. And then here comes Tom Kosnik, sits down with the senior leadership and says, guys, you've got no roadmap. You want to grow your business to 25 million, 50 million, you got to put a roadmap together. And how many times, Martin, have we heard, Tom, are you like, I've gotten to 12 million in revenue without putting a business plan together. Are you telling me to grow to 50 million in revenue, I have to have a roadmap? That's an assumption.
Yep.
That individual's assumption is that I don't need a roadmap. I just need to keep doing the same thing I'm doing to get to 50 million in revenue. Right. And so that's a quick, a quick example of what we experience.
Yeah, and I think it'd be really useful if we maybe go through the spectrum of staffing industry sizes, and maybe you just talk about some of the assumptions that you see at that point, and some of the behavioral changes that you're able to get folks to make that make a difference. So I think that was probably an example of the smaller firms. Maybe we move into the mid-sized firms for kind of question 3 here. And say, what are some of the assumptions that the middle market staffing industries
wow, man,
have, and
oh
some
my gosh,
behavioral changes that need to be made for them to escape a plateau maybe that they've hit?
It's our best clients are these middle market clients. Why? Because they're too big to be small and too small to be big. So what's the big challenge there is the founder, the president, the owners changing their job description has got to change. Their role moves from building a business to building a management team. So so they're in the middle market. They're spending a lot of money. They're hired now. They have to have like an effective operating sales function, fulfillment function, back office function. So the owner of the business moves into this role where they're building a senior management team. They're making decisions. Oh my gosh, they're making decisions collaboratively. They're using a decision-making tree. You walk in. Oh my gosh, I just had a conversation with and this company is like 350 million in revenue, and one of the senior level employees, hey, can you help us with this? Can you help us with that? And I says, well, how are decisions made? Well, we get the senior management team together, and then after we talk, we make a decision, and then so and so and so and so go to lunch, and then the real decision gets made. You gotta love it. It's just that we're so human. It happens. So the paradigm shift there, one of the things that we've got executive coaches with the Visus Group that work with individuals that were running multi-billion-dollar business units in the staffing industry, and so we work with those owners to, okay, you need to change your job description. You need to work on building a management team. You got to think about a board, a board of advisors and how to utilize outside resources. You got to think about investing in the asset in a different way. Thinking about, you can't, I shouldn't be laughing here, but I think about, you run into the $80 million a year staffing business, and the CFO is the founder's aunt who had a did tax returns at the end of the year. So he brought her on at when they were like, whatever, 3 million in revenue, and Auntie May is still there. And like, we gotta send Auntie May, we got to give her a new role, and you need a CFO in here if you want to grow this business, because you need different kind of reporting and all that stuff. But the other thing is that, gosh, when we get, oh my gosh, I mean, our clients get 50 million in revenue, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, let's get into this, let's get into that, let's get into this, let's get into that. They get all enamored by, the different niches and whatnot. And so replicatable business model. Man, one of the smartest guys I knew in the industry said to me, Tom, like 80 million in revenue. That was a figure he told me. He says, these staffing businesses need to stay focused, highly focused in a niche up to 80 million in revenue. And at 80 million in revenue, then you can start thinking about line extension, getting into another niche of staffing and whatnot. And that guy, by the way, he grew multiple $100+ million staffing businesses. But like, okay, so you've got think about creating a replicatable business model that then you can move in these different markets. Well, you got to learn to say no. Do a lot of great ideas. Oh my gosh, they our clients who are so visionary and so wonderful to be with in these meetings and all that stuff. It's like, okay, time out. We need a decision-making tree here to keep us focused on the business model and our goals and all that stuff. So the mid-size firms, yeah, that's from a leadership perspective, and even from an execution on the business model, those are some of the challenges. Too big to be small, too small to be big. Oh gosh, there's a great book. I think it's titled that. I'd have to run over to my library here and dig it out. Which is a great read. But anyway, I'm a big reader.
Yeah, I see it all the time, and it's so funny the way you put it, because it's the exact situation I see with those mid-sized companies. So let's move over. Let's debunk the myth that the large companies, like, they don't have any of these problems, Tom, right? They don't hit a plateau, these large companies. I don't know how they do it. Let's debunk that myth, because I know you work just like I do with some of the very large staffing firms in the industry. Talk about their problems. A little bit different why they plateau, and it's a little bit different probably, I suspect, of how you get them out of that plateau. But talk about some of the behemoths in the industry that you work with.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a lot of $100+ million a year staffing businesses that there's a level of sophistication. So when you get in, when you look at the kind of talent that the national staffing firms are bringing in, just in terms of like their experience, MBAs, and not that you need an MBA to grow one of these businesses, but what happens is that with the 250, 350, half billion, or certain people will get pulled up into the organization, and then all of a sudden they become a senior VP or they become a VP, and they stop growing. Those individuals stop growing. So you have a lot of privately held businesses that are 250, 350, half billion in revenue, where they like senior level talent, like people that people that are extremely talented at just thinking about business, communicating about business in a certain way. I think about my clients that go present to that go to present to like a board of a large national prospect. And of course those guys will line up 3 or 4 or 5 staffing companies to come in. And well, oh my gosh, I mean, these nationals that come in, I mean, the data collection, their value proposition, what they're offering the client, it's not like, so on this side of that equation, we're thinking, oh, they're just lowballing the margin and doing this and doing that, which is so far from the truth. I mean, they're like giving reporting and data to client. They position, Martin, they position themselves to be a strategic vendor to those nationals. And so when I look at these privately held businesses that are whatever, sizable, north of 100 million in revenue, they don't know how to breathe that. They don't know how to live that. They don't know how to communicate that to a national corporation. And so it it doesn't mean they don't win deals. I mean, they still win deals and all that good stuff. But it's really, so it's moving into that level where they have a certain sophistication of talent on staff. And it's so painful. You've got people who they're not bad people. You may have a senior level VP that you just the individual stopped growing, and so you have to move them out of there. The other dynamic is just balancing the family dynamic. So a lot of our clients are family-owned businesses, and even the large clients are family-owned businesses. And so you have family members that they just need to be out sailing. They don't need to be in the business. Pay them whatever you're going to pay them and let them go sail. And so those are tough, challenging decisions that these businesses that they struggle with, and consequences and things like that. And so those large organizations, and then learning to execute on these different strategies, VMS strategies, and middle market account strategies, and things like that. Acquisitions. A lot of my larger clients do acquisitions, and this a colleague of mine that does a lot of acquisitions, he said, Tom, these companies shouldn't be buying companies if they can't buy them and integrate them and grow them. They have no business buying these. Yeah, he gets, when he does a deal and finds out the deal goes like what was it? One of my clients said to me, wonderful guy, just really super like great personality, and he said, yeah, we bought this $10 million business that was highly profitable, and we slowly destroyed it. Oh my gosh, it's so like learning how to grow those, how to buy a small niche and then successfully grow that niche. Oh man, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work, and you got to bring people on board that can do it. But
So many people don't understand that most of the work in an acquisition starts after the acquisition, right?
Oh my gosh, integration.
So,
Oh, integration, and then the whole cultural thing. It's like yeah, I don't know any of my clients that do like a cultural assessment on the front end to make sure that little tip that you probably know, and that is that you want obviously, all these organizations have different cultures, but you want the closest cultural fit. And the reason why is that the clients of that staffing company that you're acquiring, their clients are their clients because of that culture. And so, okay, a big company, 250 million, buys a $25 million a year business, and the culture is a mismatch. Well, then you start integrating all those clients of the 25 million you bought into your systems and processes and all that stuff, and those clients are kind of like, whoa, like we don't like this. This is too, and then the clients leave and they go find it. You've seen it.
That is such a nugget, because I can't tell you how many times I'm representing a seller, and they're going to market and they're trying to make a decision. They've got several different buyers and they're trying to make a decision as to who they should partner with. And they neglect that, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
they go with the highest bidder, right? And invariably, I mean, look, if it's all cash, it's all cash. And if you're exiting the business and you're not staying on to continue to grow the business with the new partner, fine, right? I get it. Take your cash and go sailing, as you say.
yeah,
But if you're looking for a strategic partner, right? You're looking to maybe take some money off the table, partner with somebody. In that situation, people will go with the highest bidder. Invariably, there's some type of earnout. There's
yes,
some type of future earnings, because you're an employee and you've got bonus earnings, and maybe you've made a reinvestment and you own a piece of the new entity. And exactly what you said happens, right? It's not a cultural fit.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so you're not hitting your earnout
right,
target. You're not hitting your bonus
right,
targets, and
right.
it's not working because it's an
Yeah,
apple and orange. So
yeah, oh yeah, no, no, no. And there that we've got somebody on staff that actually does those cultural assessments, so that, and it is, yeah, it's a big deal.
big
Uh,
issue. Well, last question, Tom. Let's go with number 5 here. I know it's something that you and I talk about a lot. To me, especially at the lower end of the market, the niche companies, the startups, the early stage companies, and even the middle end of the market, they neglect compensation to me, and how important a role structuring the right compensation plans has towards the growth of their company. I know you spend a lot of time on compensation plans. Just talk to me about how important of a component that is to getting your folks to execute on your
yeah,
strategic plans.
yeah. But to take a step back, a staffing company is a sales organization. So as a sales organization, the sales commission structure, highly, highly, highly important. So you've got to get that that right. We're actually doing 6 compensation plans. It's kind of funny. Typically we don't see that kind of action in May, but what's happening? There's a lot of things that's happening. Internal operating expenses continue to rise, and the gross margins are pretty stable. And so, what gives? The net income. But the prior to compensation, the big 3, right? So, am I hiring the right profile? So, uh, so if you're not hiring to the right profile, you're not hiring the right kind of personality characteristic trait that succeeds in the staffing industry, and there is one that actually does succeed in our industry. If you don't have a solid training and development program for salespeople and recruiters, and you're not providing like good management, those are the big 3. So so I don't care what you do with your comp plan. If you're not hiring to the right profile, you don't have good training and development, you don't have good managers, people leave managers, not companies, then, regardless of what you do with your comp plan, then it doesn't matter. Now, and then the other piece of that, is employee engagement. So are you doing things that actually engage employees and whatnot? But the comp, yeah, a sales organization, comp is very component. And guess what, Martin? A-level players are never attracted to companies that have boring compensation plans. I've never met an A-type sales guy that says, "Yeah, I want to sign up for this rinky-dink comp plan." And our comp plans, it's the Achilles heel in the staffing industry. First, everybody comps everybody differently, which is kind of funny. There's like a gazillion different ways of compensation people, but you've got to create a compensation plan that's engaging. That number one, it's engaging. So what that means is that you have to use multiple sales levers so that the sales rep or the recruiter can make money or whatnot. And so that's one big piece of it. And the other piece of it is that the alignment. So often I see that compensation plans are going left and the goals in the management are going right. And so it's like, guys, wait, time out. And so making sure that your compensation and where the alignment is the alignment on the behavior that you're seeking your employees to do. So, I mean, management's job, get employees to do what they need to do on a day-to-day basis in order for the organization to succeed and hit its goals and whatnot. So compensation just is a really strong piece in engaging people and making sure they're doing what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. But it's I don't know who does more comp work than us at the Visus Group in the staffing industry. And oh my gosh, they're so creative, so much great creative stuff you can do with comp plans. And but yeah, most are comp plans in the industry, they're boring, not exciting, not engaging, and that's really, that's really where we try to focus on getting people, staffing companies, to beef up their plans on.
Well, Tom, I really appreciate getting to have this morning conversation with you. I look forward to maybe in a few months seeing you at an
Yes.
event in person.
Yeah.
Won't
Yeah.
record a conversation, but we may continue this conversation. Enjoy the rest of your day, Tom. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Martin.